Hello and welcome to this video on how to hide the signs that you have grafted parts of your bonsai. Although we say this is for bonsai, it could be useful for other trees, such as weeping varieties of cherry, apple and more, where the graft site can be rather ugly. A visible graft in bonsai is very undesirable. Not only does this disrupt the illusion of a natural tree, just in miniature, it is similar to an artist leaving signs of their statue or painting being made from either work other than their own or being incomplete. The same sites also often show problems that could have led to either lower success rates or higher probability of infection. There are three main graft types for most bonsai: a splice, thread, and approach. Of these, the splice or tongue approach are the biggest problems. This is then followed by the approach graft itself. The splice graft often creates a swollen area around where the Scion receives the graft. The approach graft is where you overlap two branches, so there will be twice as much branch thickness. For this, we will look at how to hide each separately, as they are similar but different in the problems created. First, we have the splice graft. This takes the graft and inserts it into the branch or trunk where an incision has been made. It creates a cross-section somewhat like this. As the two plants fuse together, the area undergoes growth and swelling. The swelling partially combines the two plants and partially to compensate for the damage. To fix this, you will need to look at your choices and decide which is most viable to you. The first of these is simple but time-consuming: a sacrifice branch. This will lead to increased branch size beyond the graft location. It can help to balance out the somewhat bulbous graft site and make it less pronounced. It does not remove any and all signs, it just makes it substantially less noticeable. Option 2 is to create damage to the branch beyond the graft. This will cause this part of the tree to swell and increase in size. This has the same sort of effect as a sacrifice branch, but is a much more quick approach, let's say. This is also a far more dangerous option. Option 3 is that you can try and remove material from inside the branch when making the graft. This creates a hollow. The hollow is where you can force the Scion into as you tighten your string, wire, or tape around the site of the graft. As the graft takes, it expands, and this leads to a more level finish if everything goes as planned. If it does not, you are left with the original problem, and this is just an extra layer of effort that's done nothing. Finally, you can try to remove branch girth after the graft is established. This is possibly the highest risk option. After your graft takes, it no longer needs the inner wood that gave it shape, size, and mass at first. You can remove some of this by reopening the graft slightly and removing the inner wood that is not living. Doing this, you take away the mass and reduce the size of the grafted area. You are physically reducing size by taking away wood. This is, however, opening up the site again, therefore you have risks of infection. You are cutting the cambium and can therefore cause issues with the flow of sap. You're also damaging the inside of the tree itself, which is all kinds of bad. Other than these, we now have approach grafts, and these are, as mentioned, where two branches are butted together and fuse over time. This can be harder to fix, as you have much less opportunity to do anything with the available space, while keeping your bonsai styled. The challenge here is what to do where the two parts of the trees butt together, and the first is actually a preemptive action. Butt the branches together in two places. This creates an opportunity to create a small bend in the branch while still letting you cut the branch between those locations. This allows you to create a more smooth and continuous finish without particularly damaging the appearance of the tree. The next option is to make some changes to the graft before you actually conduct it. The challenge with this is removing enough material from the branch that you can then squish it against the Scion, but also finish somewhat flush. You need to have enough mass for the graft to happen, but not so much as to create problems. This is done by either cutting the branch with a hollow or laying it open and encapsulating the Scion with the graft. This has a similar appearance and cross-section to what you see here. As mentioned, the challenge is doing this while still keeping the Scion and Graft intact, and with them being where you want them and how you want them. If you have already made grafts and they're established, you can try trimming the Scion's growth, and this will reduce the bulk in the area where you've conducted the graft. This has to be done very gradually and over a very long time. The entire graft, or for that matter anything remotely substantial, if trimmed, will kill your bonsai at worst and graft at best. What you have to do is remove a small vertical section, bring this together tightly, allow it to heal, and then repeat this over and over again until the entirety of that bulk has been removed, or enough of it that you're satisfied that it will go unnoticed. While both options have some fairly obvious flaws and are not necessarily in need of correction, you can also take action to reduce the signs of a graft before anything else. The right kind of cuts and removing material to minimize the size of your graft before any attempt is made will reduce the work you need to do after the graft takes. The other side of that coin is that often you need at least some mass to support the Scion and Graft fusing together. Another option to this then is to choose the right kind of graft for the right place and purpose. We've already shown you how by combining the 3 more common graft types, in our example it was a whip or tongue graft, an approach graft, and a thread graft, you can minimize the disruption to the tree but also provide multiple grafting opportunities, thereby reducing the time frame for it to happen. When doing that, we were careful to match the Scion and Graft carefully. Close size and location mean you can hide the signs of the grafting better. Where a fruit tree has a tiny graft put in a large Scion leading to a very obvious difference, and signs, the bonsai can be more carefully matched. This keeps everything scaled and sized appropriately, minimizing the work you have to do. Grafts are a great way to solve some very difficult problems, but it is not a complete solution. You need to take action to hide some grafts, as they can be a way to break the illusion of your bonsai. They can be very unsightly, and in other instances go directly against the most basic tenets of bonsai, but especially ratios and taper. Thank you for watching this video. If you have found it interesting, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Please post any comments, questions, or suggestions you have below.